Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 17 of the Between the Lines podcast. We have a lot of stuff that we're very excited to cover today. Lots of exciting, you know, out of this world stuff that we're very excited to talk about. Bro, Michael, I can't with you, bro. Would you? But I'm over here trying not to laugh and stuff, but nah, man. We might as well get the elephant out of the way. Carolina Panthers making the playoffs for the first time since 2017. You know, as fans, it's been a long time coming. Obviously, it wasn't the way that we wanted to make the playoffs. Obviously, making it with an 8-9 record and having help from the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, wasn't the way that we wanted, but nonetheless, we're in the playoffs. Anything can happen from here on out. So, we're very excited and hopeful of what's gonna be, happening. We face the Los Angeles Rams this weekend, Saturday, 4:30 p.m. at Bank of America Stadium. It's gonna be electric. It's gonna be a, very exciting atmosphere. Um, I'm very excited, to see what happens. But in terms of, what happened this past weekend, all this other stuff, you know, me and Michael, we went on a road trip to Tampa to watch the game against the Bucs on Saturday. And so that was a very fun experience. Michael, do you want to go and tell them what happened?
Yeah, we lost. Gang, we lost. We just got manhandled. Dave Canales, another straight poop game from Dave Canales play calling. Bro was out here just dicing up flea flickers inside the red zone, and I'm like, bro, we got it. We're cooked, fam. I'm being. We'll talk about it in the playoff predictions, but we're cooked. We're like beyond cooked. Like I love us. I'm glad we made the playoffs, but we're cooked, fam. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like we're cooked. um, Overall, very rainy. If I could sum it up, very wet, very nasty. It felt like we were in the middle of a hurricane at some points. Obviously, shout out Danny. Danny sat out in the whole rain without a poncho the whole time. Respect to Danny. I couldn't do it myself. I had portable charger and a phone in my pocket that I was very valuable about, and I wanted to keep it dry. So I watched the game from the concourse for like the first half. I did sit and watch the second half with you. We did sit and watch the whole second half together. It was a very interesting game to watch. I think it was very, you didn't really see both teams do anything near what they did the first time around. Obviously, with a torrential downpour and you're playing on grass, it's a little different. It kind of just changes the aspect of the game and what you have to do. But even with a downpour and rain, it was the worst game we've had rushing wise all season from both running backs. They both had 10 yards rushing, 20 yards combined. And I got to give it to Bryce. Bryce's stat line really popped out to me. I didn't think he did what he did until I looked back on it. He kind of had sneaky good plays. Especially towards the end of the game, I just think that he was put in a bad situation. I think he moves the ball down the field, gets inside the red zone, and when your coach calls a flea flicker, I don't know if there's any audible to that. At the line of scrimmage, I don't know if you can even audible it out of that. At that point, you want to trust your coach, and I appreciate Bryce Young trusting the coach, but the coach obviously doesn't seem like he can be trusted. Um, Bryce Young had a good game, 24 for 35, 266 yards and two touchdowns in the rain. That's pretty awesome. The one pick was pretty sloppy. Obviously, it was an out route to Tedero McMillan. We've talked about it on the podcast before. I pointed it out. We can go back to past episodes and I can pull up the scripts. We've talked about it on Twitter. Dave Canales loves on short yardage situations the out routes. He loves the quick slants, stuff like that. The quick stuff to get the ball out. Obviously, Bryce Young was a little too late on it. and their rookie cornerback. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he did step in on it and pick it off, and it ultimately led to some points for the Bucs going into halftime. So, um, not a very good overall performance from us offensively. Shout out Ejiro Overo, another great defensive performance. I think only allowing a team to score 16 points. That's pretty big, especially in an NFC South game when you're on the road. You kind of kept Baker Mayfield under wraps. Obviously, you didn't keep Kate Otten under wraps. 7 receptions for 94 yards and a touchdown, but that's been our kryptonite all year. We've talked about it before and over again that tight ends seem to just do big things against us. They've done it all year. They've done it in years past under Ejiro Overo. So that definitely has to be figured out. We kept Mike Evans under wraps, 2 receptions for 34 yards. And then, of course, Bucky Irving got a bunch of carries for 80 yards. So overall, I was very proud of the defense. Like we've talked about for weeks, I think we've all been very proud of the defense. We've been very competent and understanding of the situation that we've been dealt in certain games that have big points. Getting the ball in a terrible situation in a terrible place on the field doesn't help the defense out at all sometimes. But they played a great game, I think, this week. Christian Roseboom had a pick. We had a few opportunities at some takeaways. The kick return, I mean, the kick coverage. We punched the ball out. Obviously, didn't recover it. But shout out defense and special teams. They've done really well the past few weeks. We also had a blocked field goal in the game. So shout out Tracy Smith. He's done a heck of a job with that special teams unit. Him and Darren Bates as well. Both of them special teams coordinator and assistant special teams coordinator. They do a very good job with that unit. Couldn't be more happy. Obviously, I think we have a very good kicker in Ron Fitzgerald. A very good unit punt wise, kick coverage, kick wise. I think we just do very well at the special teams thing. I think we do very well on defense. Obviously, Ejiro Rivera has been talked about a lot on this podcast as getting props, but the biggest thing for us and the biggest thing I think that's going to hurt us going into the wild card round this week, and we'll talk about it in the next segment that we get into. But I think it's going to be the offense. Obviously, the defense probably will get better. Then I think we'll be better than we were last time against Los Angeles. Last time obviously we didn't have two of our premier secondary players in J.C. Horn and Trevon Moehrig. And we also didn't have our starting linebacker who also had a pick last week in Christian Roseboom. So to have those three back this time around against the Rams is big for us, and I think it can keep us in the game. But ultimately, I think the offense is our biggest kryptonite for our own selves, and it's something that I don't know if will change this week. Obviously, it's hard to beat a team twice. I've talked about that with you. Out of the three teams we could have played, I didn't want to play the Rams. But obviously, this is the cards were dealt. You win your division, you get a home game. You're going to play a very good team. Obviously, every team in the playoffs is good enough to make the playoffs. So we've beat teams like this. Obviously, we've beat the Rams before, but it's definitely going to be a uphill battle, and I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, um, we were given the Rams out of two options, Rams and the Niners. In my opinion, I didn't. It didn't really matter to me who we played. Um, you kind of had some storylines going in, regardless of which of the teams you were playing. With the 49ers, you had a return game with McCaffrey coming to Charlotte. That would have been intriguing to watch and to see. And then you have obviously the Rams. They're looking, to come back and, get that revenge after a Week 13 loss. So, you had some options there, but in my opinion, I didn't. It didn't really matter to me, because I knew no matter who we were gonna play, it was gonna be a tough battle regardless. Um, but I'm excited to face the Rams. I'm excited for the matchup. Um, obviously, you mentioned J.C. Horn, Mo Rig, Rosenmove. They're going to be back, and I'm excited for that matchup with J.C. Horn and Puka Nakua. That's something that we haven't seen yet. Nakua, very physical corner, one of the most aggressive corners, receivers in the league, excuse me, against J.C. Horn, one of the premier corners in the league. So it'll be a very fun matchup there. But going back to the game against the Buccaneers, I just wanted to point out that, in the conditions that were held, which was very rainy, very ugly, um, we saw from experience it was pretty bad. Um, but there's no excuse to only rush for a total of 20 yards between your two top backs. I thought that was pretty pathetic on the offense's part, considering it was pouring down rain and you kind of had to, run the ball efficiently in order to, have a chance in that game, which they did regardless. But that was more of like the Bucs not capitalizing or them not, you know, making the plays that they were supposed to make. But 20 yards of rushing is inexcusable, in my opinion, when it's clear as day that Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, can be top backs in the league. And so I just feel like they just ran away from it as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their game plan was to run the ball, which they did. And I don't know why, we ran away from it. So that's something that should not happen this week against the Rams, as I think it's supposed to be um, a chance of rain. So hopefully, Dave and the offense kind of learns from their mistake, because it's happened before where they just completely ran from the run game, ran away from it. They did it against San Francisco, um, whatnot. So this is not the first time it's happened. Um, I thought, you know, the defense obviously played well, holding Tampa to 16 points, only 7 on the opening drive, and then after that, it was just uh, a battle going the rest of the way. But the Panthers, had a shot to win the game, but even with all the horrible officiating going on, they did have a chance to win the game. But there was really no consistency, um, from the offense to really pull in a drive and go and win. But I mean, this is what it is. We moved on from it. Finished the regular season 8-9, and now we have a tough battle ahead of us against the Los Angeles Rams. So we're gonna, look ahead to that. Kind of give me. We already talked about it before, a little bit before we jumped on here. Kind of give me your, preview of what to expect against the Rams. Should be in like the same kind of conditions we played them last time in. How do you think the Rams will adjust this time around, and what are you expecting from a Dave Canales led offense in the playoffs? Because he's done it before.
Yes, obviously, a lot of the you know Dave Canales was obviously under Pete Carroll in Seattle for many years, especially during the time of the Legion of Boom and when Seattle was booming. He's won a Super Bowl as a wide receiver coach in Seattle, so he knows what it's like to be in the playoffs. He knows what it's like to coach playoff atmosphere football. Um, he talked about it today in the press conference a little bit. He's coached on a team like this, Seattle. Like I think 2013, I think it was. I think it was 2013. I could be wrong, but he was on the offensive staff for that team. He was up top in the booth. He said, I'm not sure what his position was, so I don't want to like claim he was a certain position and he wasn't, but he was on the offensive staff in some capacity. He said he was up in the booth, and that team was a 7-9 Seattle team who won the NFC West, and they hosted the defending Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints in Seattle. 7-9 team playing one of the best wild card team in the NFC side of it. So And they obviously won. That was obviously the game that Marshawn Lynch had the what they called the Beastquake run. Broke 9 or 10 tackles with an enforced run that they show all the time now. Dave said in a press conference today, he said, it was like the stadium was swaying. It was so loud in there. You could feel it inside the booth. You were swaying. And he said he got up out of his seat and he was screaming so loud and he was so excited and so pumped up that when he sat down, he almost passed out because all the blood rushed to his head because he was so excited. So he said, so obviously we know our head coach has been in those situations. He knows what it's like to be in playoff situations. He's been in a playoff situation as an offensive coordinator. Obviously, he took Tampa Bay to the divisional round a few years ago against the Detroit Lions, who would eventually lose in the NFC championship game. But he's been in these situations before. He's called games in the playoffs. He's coached different positions in the playoffs. He's been in home games. He's been in away games. He knows what it's like. He knows what it's like to be in the playoffs. He knows the atmosphere, road and home games. He knows what fans mean. He obviously talks about it a lot. Bank of America Stadium when it's rocking and the defense is on the field. We've forced multiple false starts. We forced delay of games. We force timeouts. That's stuff that changes the momentum of a game. And obviously, I think Dave understands that. Hey, this is a big game for Carolina. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time you're hosting a playoff game in 10 years, and you just broke one of the uh, longest major sports playoff droughts of 8 years. So, this is big for this community. This is big for this team. This is big for this fan base. Like I said, like I pointed out to you earlier, there's like 130,000 likes on our NFC South Championship post. You know, you look back 2 years ago when me and you were attending games. It was my first year as a PSL owner. It was a Frank Wright year. We were struggling to put up 10 points on prime time on Monday Night Football. It was strugglish. It sucked to watch, man. There was barely anybody in the stands. We got out of traffic quickly. There was no, problem finding parking. It was sad to watch. Honestly, it was sad to watch the team that I watched, like you have on your hat. We watched that team go to the Super Bowl, man. We were young 9, 10-year-old boys, and we watched that team, man. We watched that. We watched Cam Newton. We watched Thomas Davis. We watched Luke Kuechly, Josh Norman, Devin Funchess, Corey Brown, Greg Olson. You watched Ryan Khalil, like those, Mike Tolbert, Jonathan Stewart. Like we watched those guys take a team that nobody had thought had any chance. This small market team from Charlotte, North Carolina, was made it big. We got ourselves put on the map, and it just kind of we fell off the map. So I think this game could be the biggest game for Carolina in the last 10 years. It is the biggest game in the last 10 years, but it could be an even bigger game than some of the games we played in 2015, some of the games we played in 2014 or 2017, because this team has been through how many losing seasons now? I think it's 8 straight losing seasons. This fan base, you've had people sell off their PSL tickets. People who have been PSL owners, I know at work that have been PSL owners since the 1995 season when they came out. And the Panthers have deteriorated and they've sold their PSLs. Man, it's sad to see. It really is. Like we look at the Ticketmaster right now, and obviously I hope it changes, but there's a lot of seats available, man. It seems like people are selling their seats more than they're buying them. It's sad to see, man. It's years of disappointment, and the team. It's obviously a different team than 2015. The 2015 team, you didn't have no worries about that team. You knew that team was, sure handedly we were going to be in the Super Bowl. Many people, even Bronco fans, I think, believe that we were going to win it all. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like that team was unstoppable. This team's totally different. It's a totally different era of football. 10 years, a lot changes. I don't know if we have. I don't think we have anybody on that team except for J.J. Jansen, who was on the last team. So a lot has changed in 10 years, man. I mean, a lot has changed. But what I think has stayed the same is the diehard fans like me and you, the ones who have stayed true, the ones who have watched games that were sad to watch. Man, I remember we sat in a nosebleed section and we watched Matt Rule's last game as a head coach of the Carolina Panthers against the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey returned. No, Christian McCaffrey wasn't even traded yet, but we got absolutely manhandled by them up and down the field. And you know, I think that's when we hit our lowest. I mean, I think we were rock bottom, man. I think we were that was the worst that franchise has ever been. There's been some tough moments, but I think in that moment, we were witnessing the rock bottom of the Carolina Panthers, and to see it get back to this point, I don't care what our record is. We could be 1-15 in NFC South champions. I don't care. We're in the playoffs. That is a huge milestone, no matter what the team is. Obviously, we're going to criticize Dave Canales. We're going to criticize many players and coaches, but I do have to give props where it's due. You made the playoffs. That's not easy. Only 14 teams out of 32 make it. Not even over half the league is, you know, searching for head coaches, searching for GMs, doing their research on NFL draftees. Like, we're not doing that right now. We're in a spot where we don't have to look for a GM. We don't have to look for a head coach. We don't have to do our research right now on NFL draft people because we don't know our draft position. And that's a good feeling to have when the regular season is over. You don't know where you're drafting yet. I love the idea that we're going to be drafting below 20. I'm so okay with staying up until 10:30, 11 o'clock on draft night to see our draft pick. That makes me very happy. Usually I'm watching our draft pick at 9 o'clock because it's in the top five or the top 10. But it's stuff like that that makes you happy. It's stuff like that that makes you say, okay, maybe things are changing. What we saw at the end of last year with Dave Canales, I think we had those moments sometimes this year. We didn't have them all the time. We didn't have them as consistently as we had them towards the end of last year. We had them like week after week after week after week was consistency of the same thing. Obviously, we haven't had that all year. We've had good games here and there, but what I'm expecting Saturday is I'm expecting the defense to come out firing on all cylinders. I think they understand the assignment. You're going to get three key players back, so I think that we are better than last game. But also, Matthew Stafford in the playoff is dangerous. Obviously, he's a Super Bowl champion. Um, they'll have Devontae Adams back this week. He had a good game against us last time. Puka Nakua, that defense is going to be hungry. That front five especially didn't do too much last game. We kind of shut them down, so they're going to be a little hungry. I think that defense comes out firing on all cylinders, and it's going to put Dave Canales in a tough situation. He's going to have to be able to adjust and make changes on the fly. And that's something that worries me because I don't know if he can make changes on the fly, especially in a big moment. Obviously, we know he's been in big moments like this, but if he can't even do it in a regular season game when you're fighting for the NFC South against another 8-9 opponent, how do I know you can do it against one of the better teams in the NFC? So it's gonna be an interesting game to watch. I'm excited to watch, no doubt. I don't care. Like I said, I'm excited to see Panther football, Panther playoff football. I haven't seen it since I was a 10-year-old, and I'm 21 now. So it's definitely exciting to see. It's definitely very happy for me. But just going to take it day by day and enjoy this week as much as I can because, we can say we're in the playoffs. And like I said, 16 other NFL teams can't say that right now. 16 other teams are planning for their draft pick. Um, Black Monday, obviously, a lot of coach firings. Bunch of teams are scheduling interviews for head coaches. A few GM coaches, a few GM openings. So some teams are having to do interviews right now. We're not having to do interviews. We're having to just figure out watching film on a team we've already beat. So that's awesome. It's awesome to feel this, and it's awesome to be in this situation. So, um, just take it day by day and just enjoy the week. I'm definitely going to enjoy it. I think we'll both enjoy Saturday no matter where we are. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's a new era in Carolina. I think this is a start of a breath of kind of fresh air. Obviously, there's things we have to critique. There's things we have to fix, no doubt. But um, it's a breath of fresh air to finally get back to this point, just to be in the playoffs, hosting the games even bigger. To be NFC South champions, to know that it's our trophy, and we have to, somebody has to take it from us. We're the NFC South champions. We're undisputed NFC South champions. We're better than Atlanta, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and they have to come through us next year to get it. So that means so much to me. It's a awesome feeling to be back here, and I'm glad me and you have been on this journey together and seen it happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Um, I was actually it's funny. Um, I was sleeping when the Falcons won against the Saints, bro. I like as soon as I like dropped you off at your house on Sunday, it came back to mine. I literally went to sleep and I missed the entire 1 p.m. slate games, and
Bro,
I woke up I woke up at like 4:30, and I was like, dude, there's no way I just missed that entire game. And I
bro, don't.
immediately checked my The what?
Sorry, sorry for interrupting, but I was saying don't feel bad because literally I don't even think you got out of I don't even think you got back to your house or anywhere near your house by the time I laid my head on the pillow and went to sleep. So I slept from 8 o'clock that morning all the way to like 2:30. So I missed the whole first half. My body just woke me up, but I mean, when my head hit the pillow, I was gone. But I had to search for my phone when I got up. I think it got all mixed up in the covers and stuff. I was like trying to figure out where it was in the bed. Man, I was gone.
Nah, I was out of it, bro. And then I immediately checked my phone and I looked up the Saints versus Falcons score and it said 17-19. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. And I immediately ran downstairs like screaming and then my dad was like right here on the couch and he was like so you know how he is. He's so nonchalant. Like and I was like, we just made the playoffs and it was like, yep, watched the whole game. You're sleeping. I was like, bro, there's no way. But nah, in that moment, like it was a really good feeling knowing that, we're playing playoff football. Um and like you said, I'm gonna enjoy this week and just take it in because only a few certain amount of teams get to experience playoff football, and I mean you never know. Once you're in, anything can happen. Um, and
What do you think?
you, I think when you look at a team like the Los Angeles Rams, who they haven't been playing dominating football like they were at the first half of the season. They were not. The Cardinals were hanging in there for the first three quarters against them on Sunday until the Rams eventually pulled away in the fourth. And then obviously the Rams losing to the Falcons 2 weeks ago, and all that stuff. It's not like the Rams are a juggernaut team, and we already have film on them. We played them, we beat them, but it's a different mentality now. We have all these new guys that have never experienced playoff football before. Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard, Jalen Coker, T Mac. Um, these guys, the majority of the guys on offense. Um, are going to experience their first taste of playoff football, so it's going to be new to them. Taylor Moton's finally going to get his playoff chance. Hopefully, Robert Hunt.
I'm so happy for him, bro. I'm like, sorry for interrupting you. I really am. Like, I'm sorry I keep doing it, but like,
Nah, he's good.
if I could be happy for one guy on this team, like one guy that I've like has grinded year in and year out and worked his tail off and never complained one bit, was there through the struggles, worked his tail off. It's Taylor Moton. Like it surely is. Like Taylor Moton has waited for this moment for years. Like obviously everybody's talked about it. Taylor Moton needs to get the playoffs. We need to help Taylor Moton get to the playoffs. Let's make sure we re-sign Taylor Moton. He's a Carolina Panther for life, and I think he is. I think he wants to be here for life. I think he loves Charlotte. I think he loves the Carolina Panthers. Obviously I'm also happy for we. I think he's so underappreciated. I'm so happy for JJ Jansen. That guy has signed a 1 year contract re-extension every year, every year, every year, every year. And I'm so happy for him, man. I truly am. Like, I know we laugh at it and we have a nickname for him and stuff, but JJ Jansen is the coolest guy ever. Like, he is Carolina through and through. Like, he will go one day in the Carolina Panthers Hall of Honor, no doubt. Like, he is a true Panther through and through. There's no doubt in my mind the 44 jersey should be retired when he leaves the Carolina Panthers. We're talking about a guy who's been here for 14 years. We're talking about a guy who's been here for over half the franchise almost. We're talking about a guy who has every year contemplated retirement, and every year somehow, some way he finds enough to come back every year. And if this is his final year, which I hope it may be because it's you get to go out in the playoffs, that'd be awesome. Um, obviously a little bit of me hopes he gets a Super Bowl ring, but I'm not going to go there already. I'm not going to try to put us in a Super Bowl already. Obviously, we're in the playoffs, so that is the main goal. But I'm not going to put us there already. I'm not going to put us there at all right now. So, but you know, I'm so happy for Taylor Moton and JJ Jansen. Those two guys, I think I'm happy for the most. Those two deserve it the most, man. Like, obviously, I'm happy for Bryce. I'm happy for T Mac, but we're talking about Carolina Panthers who have waited and waited and waited and been through the grind and watched other guys leave to go to other teams and go win the playoff games and go win Super Bowls. They've seen their teammates do that, and they've stayed there and they've waited and they've waited and they've waited and they've earned their stripes. And I'm just so happy for those two. And I'll let you get back to it, but I am very happy for those two guys right there.
And Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, them guys too. They've been with us for a while now. Especially Derek Brown, man. I mean, he's the leader of that team. So I know he's probably happy, the most happy out of anyone, because they already said no matter what the record is, um, being in the playoffs, you're in. I mean, they worked hard for it, so. Um, can't really take anything away from them. I know they're gonna play their hardest because they've waited for this moment. Um, so I'm really excited to see them play in their first playoff game in their career. It'll be fun, um, and it will be a good test to go up against this Rams team. Um, and if the atmosphere uh wasn't already big the last time we played them, it's only going to be louder, bigger here on Saturday. So I know the whole city of Charlotte, state of North Carolina, is going to be all eyes tuned in onto this game. So it'll be big. I'm excited to watch. Um, and let's just ride with it. But moving on to the rest of the playoffs, going in, we have our wild card slate official. I'm just gonna go through all the games real quick, and we're gonna give out some predictions, early wild card predictions for the first round. Starting off in the AFC, we're gonna go the fifth seeded Houston Texans going to Pittsburgh and facing the Pittsburgh Steelers after the Steelers narrowly beat the Baltimore Ravens last night off of a missed potential game-winning kick. Um, what's your initial thoughts and who you got moving forward?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very intriguing game in the AFC. I think it's going to be a very close game. Uh, you know, Aaron Rodgers sneaks into the playoffs. He's obviously going to get DK Metcalf back off his 2 game suspension this week, so he'll have his full arsenal for him. The defense played really lights out yesterday for Pittsburgh in the second half. I think they really showed up. But you know, it was a slightly missed 44-yard field goal by Tyler Loop, and we'd be talking about the Baltimore Ravens in this game. So it's a game of plays, man. It's a game of inches. Like we're talking about, miss kicking something to the right just a few feet, and a team missing the playoffs. That's how it goes, man. That's just how it is. That's why every NFL regular season game matters from week 1 to week 18. All of them matter because if you would have won a game 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, you would have had a 1 game advantage over the Pittsburgh Steelers. You'd already be in the playoffs, so it wouldn't even have mattered. You know what I'm saying? And that's like we talked about, like they said, the Atlanta Falcons. If they would have beat the Jets earlier in the year, they would have been NFC South champions. We're talking about a guy who, Raheem Morris might still have his job. Terry, their GM, would still have his job. We're talking about guys who have lost their jobs over 1 game. That is insane to think about. But I mean, it's a game of inches, and it's a game of every game matters. It really does. So, um, you know, obviously, I think it's gonna be a good game. C.J. Stroud really intrigues me. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, very good team, very good defense. D'Amico Ryans is a very good coach. He has that defense flying around at all times. We were talking about today at work. I got a bunch of Steeler fans. I have family that's Steeler fans. Obviously, on my mom's side, they're big Steeler fans. I was telling you that earlier. We were talking about the terrible towel in my room. It's paying homage to my grandfather. But I have a lot of Pittsburgh Steeler family. I have a lot of people at work that are Pittsburgh Steelers. So they talked about the Houston defense as the one thing they pointed out, and they're not wrong. Will Anderson, anchor of that defense, he flies around. So it's gonna be interesting for Pittsburgh in their run game, especially. We'll see how Aaron Rodgers does with DK Metcalf back. But this is the closest game I have all weekend. I'm gonna have Houston winning by 1 point. I got Houston by 1 point in this game. It's gonna be the last game of the wild card slate. It's on Monday night by itself, and I think it's gonna be an awesome game. But this may be Pittsburgh's. This could be Mike Tomlin's last game as a head coach. This could be Aaron Rodgers' last game as a quarterback. A lot of questions up in the air for Pittsburgh, but give me Houston by 1 point.
Um, I agree with you. I do have Houston winning. They're riding a ton of momentum right now with 9 consecutive wins. Their defense is playing phenomenal, and I think that alone against Aaron Rodgers, yes, they are getting DK Metcalf back, but DK Metcalf alone is not going to win you a game, especially against a defense like this. Um, and then when your second best receiver or your other receivers alongside that are Scotty Miller, Adam Thielen, all them guys. I don't think, and then you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, who, yeah, he did have a good game yesterday, but this is a different game we're talking about here. The Texans fly around. Um, when you have two phenomenal edge rushers and Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter on the opposite sides, going up against, you know, almost 50-year-old Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it's gonna be fun for him. But so I do have the Texans winning. I don't think they're gonna win by 1 point. I think they're gonna win um, by multiple scores. So moving on to the NFC side, let's go the Amazon Prime Video game with the Green Bay Packers going to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears.
You may take the lead on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is gonna be a good game. I think. Obviously, I think Jordan Love will be back this week, coming off concussion protocol. But I really like what Chicago's doing. I like Ben Johnson in the playoffs. Um, coming off a loss to Detroit this past weekend, I wouldn't look too much into it. I think they already knew that, hey, look, we're going to be the 2 or 3 seed. We're going to be in a good spot. We're going to host games. Kind of just taking their foot off the gas a little bit. Ben Johnson don't want anybody to get hurt, and I can understand that. It wasn't a big game for them. It was more of a big game for Detroit because they're trying to build momentum into next year. Chicago's just trying to, get in the playoffs healthy. So I wouldn't look into that too much. I don't think Green Bay's defense can keep up with Chicago's offense. I think Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, the two-headed monster in the backfield with Swift and Manungai. I think it's just all around a good offense. Ben Johnson at the helm is even better. Obviously, he's performed well in playoff games. He should have went to the Super Bowl a few years ago, but their defense gave it away in the second half. But you know, give me Chicago by 6 points.
yeah. I'm gonna take the Bears winning this one as well. I think the Bears and Bear fans have waited too long for this moment. Um, they have a good enough team to make a deep run, I think. Um, when you have a phenomenal play caller in Ben Johnson, I think you're given a shot. You're given a shot to win. They have the pieces around them, so I'm not going to overlook this one. I think if Green Bay had Micah Parsons, their energy on defense would be a whole lot different. But because Michael Parsons is a game changer, and he's a guy that can wreak havoc in a game like this. But since he's not there, I just don't think it's gonna happen. So give me Chicago. I do think this could be a close game though. Give me Chicago to advance in the divisional.
But
Um, Moving on to the next, we have six-seeded Buffalo Bills taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 3 seed in Jacksonville. Um, and then you can take the lead on this one again.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most, like I said, the Houston Pittsburgh game be the closest, but I think this is going to be the most exciting AFC game over the weekend. Um, Liam Cohn in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. Another team who's waited a few years to win the AFC South again. But hey, Josh Allen is Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen gets to stay out of the cold and get to go down to sunny Florida and Jacksonville. Obviously, we drove through Jacksonville. We drove through Duval County this past weekend. Um, you know, I never want to count out Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen a lot. Obviously, I like what Liam Cohn's doing in Jacksonville. I think the defense has gotten pretty good. I think the offense has made a big jump on offense. But I think Buffalo and that whole team is going to be too much to handle for Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I'm going to honestly say that right now. But I think Buffalo wins by a game winning field goal.
I'm actually going to go the opposite direction. I'm actually going to pick Jacksonville to upset the Buffalo Bills. I know Patrick Mahomes isn't in the playoffs anymore. I know this is going to sting for Buffalo fans because, this is their shot. This is their chance. Um, but they ran into Trevor Lawrence, and I think the Jaguars have a ton of momentum themselves. Um, you know, Everbank Stadium rocks when when that crowd is on their feet and it's electric. Just go back and watch the Chiefs game early in the season. um, that place was rocking. It felt like a playoff game then. And it's only going to be even more loud here. I think, you know, Trevor Lawrence is going to get it done, and Liam Cohen is going to add to his Coach of the Year resume potentially. I know he's going to be one of the candidates, but I really like what Jacksonville is doing, and they're doing this without Travis Hunter, who's out for the season. Their number 2 overall pick. So I think with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they're going to get it done. I wasn't really impressed with the Bills' last game against the Eagles. I say last game because that was when they had their starters in and whatnot. But they had played a great defense with Philly. They're going to play another great defense with Jacksonville. We played Jacksonville in week 1, so we know how their defense rolls and whatnot. They have a tremendous, group of talent across the board. So I'm going to go the first upset here and pick the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I really like this
Uh,
matchup a lot.
All right.
Um, Next up, we have the 6 seeded San Francisco 49ers taking on the 3 seeded Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl defending champs. Who are you riding with and why?
Yeah. This is going to be um, interesting game just because you have a West Coast team coming all the way to the East Coast into a probably cold atmosphere in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But San Francisco's been in this atmosphere before. They've been in the playoffs. They've made runs. They've had to do this before. Um, Chris McCaffrey's played on the East Coast. Brock Purdy's also a Midwestern kid, so he obviously knows what it's like. Um, you know, I think the San Francisco defense, I love, obviously we've always talked about him. Robert Saleh is a very good defensive coordinator. He always has that team tuned up, those guys ready to go. They had a shootout just the other week. Was it with Seattle?
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah. Had a shootout the other week with Chicago. Big defensive stop at the end against Caleb Williams and that team. Two juggernauts going at it. So I'm actually going to say that we will have a new Super Bowl champion this year. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers to go on the road to Philly and pull it off.
I find it funny you say that because Um, I said a couple weeks ago or last week that the 49ers had the most momentum out of anyone in the NFC coming into the playoffs, and I think I think now it's funny, how what a week difference makes. So with that being said, give me Philadelphia beating the 49ers. As much as I want the 49ers to make a run, because I do like the 49ers. um Gosh, man, I looked back on the game against Seattle, and I wasn't really impressed. That didn't look like the same team that we saw against Chicago. Um, but I mean, that's the NFL. A week, makes a huge difference. Um, and Philly is gonna have their first playoff game since winning the Super Bowl. So I mean, I already know how the Philly fans are gonna be. It's gonna be loud. Um, I mean, the Niners have already been on such a great run with all these key injuries. Uh, we've already named them earlier, like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, all these other key guys. They've already, had such a great run. But unfortunately, I think it stops here at Lincoln Financial Field. Um, so I think, Eagles are gonna pull through and advance to the divisional. But
I respect your opinion, but your opinion's wrong.
okay, we'll see next week. Um,
Okay, we will.
moving on to our final AFC battle, it is the seventh-seeded Los Angeles Chargers taking on the second-seeded New England Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this short, sweet, and beautiful as I can make it. Uh, 2 words: Drake May. I mean, we're talking about a team that plays in a dome, having to come all the way to New England in early January, play in Drake May's conditions and Mike Vrabel's conditions. This team is on fire right now, man. This team is killing every team they play. Drake May and Mike Vrabel has absolutely turned this team around. Stephon Diggs is used to playoff football. Um, Mike Vrabel's used to playoff football. That defense flies around. Josh McDaniels in that offense is firing on all cylinders. I'm just gonna make this quick, man. I think this is the biggest lopsided game on the AFC side. Give me New England by maybe double digits.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go with New England as well. Um, I'm I'm just not really seeing anything with the Chargers. Well, I don't think they're gonna have an answer for Drake May. I mean, I think he's a real, you know, he's real close to winning MVP. I think Stafford's gonna get my vote for MVP, but I mean, you can go with anyone. It really wouldn't matter. I think they're gonna roll through. So give me New
Not
England
get,
as well to
he not he
advance.
not he not getting my vote, fam. He not getting my vote. Drake May gets my vote. Give me Drake May.
Okay. And then moving on to the last game, Los Angeles Rams going up against the Carolina Panthers. Who do you have and why?
Yeah, as much as I love my boys, we talked about this before we came on here. I love my boys. I'm glad we're in the playoffs. It was a great year, Cinderella year. We had some big upsets, crazy games, multiple game winning drives. But I think this is the end of our road. I think Stafford adds on to his MVP season. I think the Rams defense plays way better than they did last game against us. I think it's just an all around better game for Los Angeles. I think we keep it close early, but I think Los Angeles pulls away towards the end and we lose by double digits.
Michael, what's that saying that Walkertown football has?
We got us.
We got us.
I swear, if
Why
you're about to say Carolina Panthers, I'm going to go crazy.
why not us? Why
Ah,
not?
no. They're gonna kill
Why?
Panthers.
Why not us, bro? Give me the Carolina Panthers. Give me the Carolina Panthers. I
Yo, okay.
think.
If only y'all heard the things this man was saying in the car after the Bucks game. If
I
only y'all
think,
heard. I wish I had a that car, bro.
bro. I
No,
I looked
don't
at
even
this.
do that.
I looked at this. Hey, once I saw that we were playing the Los Angeles Rams, I have a vision. I have a vision. I just need you to follow with me through here. I
I'm
think
listening.
I think that the Carolina Panthers can pull off the upset. I know we're not favored to win this game. I know that. But just imagine you're going to be at the game. You're going to root for them like crazy. You're going to be screaming.
Okay.
There's going
Okay.
to be 70,000 people there. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be electric. I know that the Rams are going to come into enemy territory and there's going to be potentially rain and all this. Why not the underdog to win a playoff game? Why not spoil the hopes of an MVP quarterback and a Super Bowl contending team? Why can't they? All it takes is a couple good drives and the Panthers can win this game. I think, and I am not a believer in Dave Canales whatsoever, but I think the Panthers can solely win this game off of defense. I think that if the Panthers can just play some sort of good football, I think we're able to surprise people. Um, and I think this is one of the game. And I was talking about it earlier. I was like, this Rams team is beatable. We beat them before. They've struggled coming into the playoffs, but I just have a feeling that we can sneak one in and advance to the divisional to play the Seahawks. We're gonna lose to the Seahawks. Yeah, we'll lose to them. But this game right here, I'm talking this game right here, it's in the wild card. I I'm gonna pick the Carolina Panthers for the upset. Um, and don't come to me and be, acting all surprised if the Panthers win. I'm gonna be like, we had us, we had us, and
Respect. Respect.
I'm going to enjoy the win. But those are um wild card predictions for this week. It's gonna be an
All right.
exciting
So,
weekend.
so
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna.
gonna be.
Is this is the last thing we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you finish, and I'm gonna tell you based on our predictions what our divisional round looked like for each other.
Okay. I'm charge my phone real quick.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. For me, on the AFC side, based on my predictions, I would have the number one Denver Broncos hosting the um, six-seeded Buffalo Bills. And then I would have the number two seeded New England Patriots hosting the fifth seeded Houston Texans. For you, it switches up a little bit. Um, you would have number one Denver hosting number five Houston, and then number two New England hosts number three Jacksonville. On the NFC side, I have the number one seeded Seattle Seahawks taking on the six seeded San Francisco 49ers. And then the number two seeded Chicago Bears play host to the fifth seeded Los Angeles Rams. For you, you have the obviously number one seeded Seattle Seahawks playing host to our four seeded Carolina Panthers. And then the number two seeded Chicago Bears playing host to the number three seeded Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And there is
Sounds
a way,
right.
there is a way, there is a way we can host a divisional game. There is a way.
How?
If um, San Francisco beats Philadelphia and Green Bay beats Chicago, we would host San Francisco.
Is there a way we would host a championship game?
Yep. We would have to have Green Bay beat uh, Seattle, and we would have to beat San Francisco.
Interesting. Well,
So it's possible. It is possible. There is a possibility.
when there's delusion, there's hope. Bro, we've
Facts.
said that. We've said that for like multiple years now. When
Now
there's
it's
delusion.
true. Like there was delusion, there was hope, and there was good stuff came out of that hope.
Yeah. But unless you have anything else,
I'm good, brother.
all right. Well, everyone, thank y'all for tuning in again to another episode of Between the Lines. It's been a real pleasure. Already 17 episodes. Hopefully, and
That's true.
hopefully we can talk more positives next week. We'll have to see what happens after wild card weekend, but we'll be here. Um, and we'll see y'all next week. We're out.